Hi, this is Risa again, and I'm with
Dee Hennigan
from Late Bloomers.
Late Bloomers. I played Carly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's fun. Oh my gosh.
This is 1996.
1996, 94 is when we made it.
Okay.
It finished in 95. I think it's got its first release in 96.
No, I think I might have seen this movie, but I'm not sure.
I wrote so long ago.
So tell us what the movie is about.
The movie was kind of a pioneer in its day. It was about two women.
Mm-hmm.
One was a basketball coach, played by Connie Nelson, my dear friend. And the second one, whom I played, Carly Lumpkin. What a name, Lumpkin, right? She was the school secretary at the high school. And Carly was married to actually a math teacher. And somehow, someway, Carly and Dinah end up falling in love, mostly over basketball. And at the time when it was released, it was a scandal because back in 95, that wasn't legal yet, So we had a lot of fun times shooting it. There were a couple of times where Julia Dyer, the director, would come over to us and say, wherever we were on location, don't mention what the script is about today, okay? Because, people weren't as open as they are today.
Right. Where was this film?
In Dallas.
Really?
Yes. It was filmed in Dallas. Gretchen Dyer wrote it. Julia Dyer directed, and their brother Stephen Dyer produced it.
Family affair.
Yeah, and so we, most of the actors were from Dallas, and most of the money was from Dallas too. The little bit of backing that we had. It was a macro budget for at the time. It was under $1 million, right at, and but we had a grand time doing it. It was so much fun.
Any interesting stories from the set?
Yeah, I suppose the big wedding scene at the end where they finally get married and things like that. The little flower girl, there's two little flower girls in the front, and one of them is Julia and Gretchen's niece, and the other one is my daughter. Yeah, she was like 4 or 5 at the time, and now she's a graduate student at the MFA film production program in UT Austin. She's about to graduate, so it's been that many years.
So she'll be there the night of the
She's actually going to come up for the screening.
That's great.
Yeah, for me. Yeah, that would be fun. It'll be really fun. Some of the fun stories were, there's the first day of shooting, we were at a local high school, and I guess we were all so nervous because it had been such a dream of Gretchen and Julia's to make this film, and they finally had the money. We were finally there after, the first day. We had a big, huge crane. I remember it was a big deal getting that crane shot. And Julia comes up to Connie and I, the very first shot of the movie, and she starts really intensely directing us and stuff like that. And we just smiled and gave her a big hug and took a deep breath together and said, "It'll be okay, Julia. It'll be okay, I promise." And so she kind of laughed and then backed up, but we had a grand time. There's a couple of scenes at that school where Carly and Dinah would sneak out of in between classes or in their off period, and they'd go to the Volkswagen that Carly had. I think it was Carly's or maybe it was Dinah's. I can't remember. Anyway, we'd sneak and we'd snuggle down and make out in the Volkswagen, and that was really fun. We were just being silly and having so much fun. Connie and I had a grand time together. So yeah, that was one of them. Well, the big scene of the movie is where you really cement that how much they are in love is a basketball scene at night. And it was shot at night in winter in Dallas. And so it was very, very cold. And Bill Schwartz, the wonderful director of photography, he managed to get us a heater. But Connie and I, all we had on were basketball shoes. That was it. So that was like really challenging and kind of brave and crazy at the same time. But it actually shot really easily, very nicely. There was a closed set, and they were all so kind about it, with blankets standing right there for us in between shots and stuff. But that was really fun too.
So how did the movie do when it opened?
It had a limited release at first. I think Strand Distribution Company came along, and they we did okay in that release, but it did really well at the festivals, in the festival market. Lots of jury prizes and lots of attention, lots of people writing in and thanking us for the subject matter, and for portraying it in such a fun yet honest way. And so I think we had a lot of fans. We had more fans in the LGBT world than we did necessarily in the big market.
Right.
So we did okay, but I was surprised when I got this call a couple months back, and Julia said, we're thinking about, we've got a call to bring it into the digital world and kind of re-release it. I was like, what? But it's good. It's actually good timing now.
Right.
Everything that's happened this last year. So it's fun.
So it's on DVD?
It's going to be soon. I think they did release it eventually after it had its limited release in theaters. Strand put it out on VHS, and I think we were on HBO for a little while, which was grand. And people could rent it online, and then it kind of just fizzled out. So now she's going digital, and so it'll be in the streaming market and DVD, digital,
so
HD,
Netflix.
and all that. Netflix, yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah,
that's great.
Excited. Mm-hmm.
So talk about your career, what you've been doing lately.
It's so funny because prior to me doing Late Bloomers, I was mostly a theater actress, relatively, and worked at the Dallas Theater Center as a company member for many years under Adrienne Hall. Loved that time in Dallas with my husband Sean Hennigan, who's also an actor there. And we left Dallas, went to Colorado first to work at the Denver Center Theater Company. My daughter was getting to be a toddler, so she was making too much noise backstage. So we had to kind of switch gears. So we moved over to film and television. We were actually going to be settling into Chicago when I got the call from Julia to come and was I interested in doing this movie? I was like, I don't know, maybe. And at the same time, Wishbone, the little television show Wishbone about the dog, he goes back into the classics books and becomes the hero in the books. They were both casting at the same time, and so we came back for the castings, Sean and I. We both got roles, so we ended up leaving our little apartment that we put on deposit in Chicago, came down here. While we were here, we built a house here. Wishbone went on for like 3 years of shooting, and Late Bloomers was a huge success, going to Sundance and all of that. So that was surprising. When we were after Sundance, I got a lovely role with Sandra Bullock in Hope Floats.
Oh, right, I remember that one.
Yeah, that was such a lovely role, and I got to play Dot, who was so mean to Sandy's character when she came back to town. Had a grand time. Forrest Whitaker directed that. It was amazing. I left that set to go to California for an opening of Late Bloomers out there. And because of the success of Late Bloomers, I got put on what they call the A-list of actors in LA. But I wasn't an A-list actor. Nobody knew who I was. I was a theater actress mostly, and had done these little bit of stuff. But the first year or so in LA, I got on The Practice, a recurring role in The Practice for a little bit. That was fun. And mostly I was a negotiating tool for the real stars. So after like the third or fourth, first refusal for a real star, and the star took it, of course, I decided, you know what, I've always wanted to be a psychologist. Oh, and that was also at the time when like Gwyneth Paltrow and those long, thin, skinny, beautiful women were taking all the leads. And here I was, 5'1", 104 pounds, a little round. So I thought it best maybe to withdraw, do something else, and then come back at it when I was about 50 or so. I'm about 50 or so. When Julia called, I was like cracking up. I was like, oh, okay. So I left. We came back to Dallas, my husband and I, for family reasons. And I actually became like a school secretary. I started to work for a school district in the northern suburbs and worked my way up to the accounting office. I was an internal auditor and accounting person. Got promoted to the state level, and then after the first year there were cutbacks at the state, so I was first to go, last one in, first one out. So then I went to work for a payments processing company that was venturing out to government. They hired me. Then they let me go after a year because of budget cuts. And I found my way to opticianry. So now I am actually an optician. And I work for a wonderful company, VIP Plano in Plano, and they have an office in Carrollton and Irving. And I'm the optical manager and lead optician. I actually love it. I love doing what I'm doing. My daughter, who's a young filmmaker, and she did her pre-thesis last year in UT. She asked me to come out of kind of semi-retirement and do the lead in her pre-thesis film, which terrified me because I hadn't done it in so long, but I did it, and I actually loved it. I had a grand time working with her. It's called In Nomine Patris. It's by Dee Hennigan. She's wonderful, and she's just submitting it now to festivals and things like that. But I told Julia asked me, do you want to go back into acting? You said when you're in your 50s, and I said, I love the acting part of it. I don't like the business of getting the jobs for the actresses. That is so hard, so harsh, and I love my work, what I do right now so much, that if somebody came to me and said, hey, we got this great role, sure, but I'm not really interested in putting myself back out there and doing it that manner.
Isn't there a lot of work happening in Dallas right now?
I've heard that there is. My husband still acts. He's an actor. He has an agent in town, and he has a lot of voiceover work in town. He's been doing that for many, many years. And I think it's picking up. I'm not sure. Honestly, when I stepped out, and I kind of don't pay attention that much. I should, but I don't as much. So I hear that it's picking up.
Well, now that you're going to be here at the festival and getting exposure, then
anybody wants me, call me. I'll take the role. I just don't want to audition. How's that for diva? I'm old, but I love acting. I had such a grand time when I was doing it. Very successful in the theater, successful in film and television too. So it was fun. It was such a grand time. And I don't mind going back if somebody wants to offer me something. I just don't want to have to do the whole audition thing over and over and over again.
I understand.
Yeah.
So, why did they bring this film in for the festival, do you know?
Well, this January is the 20th anniversary of when it went to Sundance.
Oh, okay.
And when we were at Sundance, we got to the finalists of the jury prize. And then right after that, Connie Nelson and I received together the Film Actress of the Year awards. Yeah, which was phenomenal. Shirley MacLaine handed it off to us because she had won it the year before. And that was such an honor and such a treat. So I think when with the last year that we've had politically and everything getting so much in the forefront about LGBT and legalized marriage, that Dallas International Film Festival contacted Julia and said, hey, we're interested in maybe celebrating the 20th anniversary of late bloomers. So she was like, wow. And she got a call out of the blue from a young, it's not young, it's actually a company that's been around before for a long time, a new releasing company, a distribution company that wants to re-release it in the digital form.
That's great.
So this is kind of our big red carpet moment 20 years later, April 20th, and then it's going to go live digitally. So we're excited.
So you're a late bloomer.
We are late bloomer, literally. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate you talking with us.
Thank you. It was so fun.